Hello, today I'm joined by some of my peers from my Applied Digital Learning class in my Lamar University grad school program. And in this conversation, we were talking about how technology is integrated into the classroom and kind of how that is affecting our classes and how we see that happening into the future. And this is something that has really been a huge help, having these people to talk with and relate to when we're talking about blended learning and things like that. So this is related to my innovation plan because I have been wanting to implement blended learning into my classroom. And so this has been a really good discussion that I have with my peers about blended learning and e-portfolios and how those things affect our kids and ourselves and as professionals. And so these conversations were really great, and I hope you enjoy watching.
Let's all start off to introduce ourselves, since we've actually never formally done that, even though we're very familiar with each other, but we've never really said hello in a normal way. So hello, my name's John. Yeah. I'm a literature teacher stationed in Bangkok. I teach grade 9. One of the reasons that I decided to join this program was because my school, like, part of their marketing and just the whole mission of the school is that they are the first school in Thailand to be focused on technology. So, even when I first started, I made sure that the first thing I did was eliminate all the paper from my class, go totally digital. And I realized that, I needed to take it a step further. So that's one of the reasons I'm here, is just trying to back up the mission of my school to be a leader in technology and a leader in innovation. So that's me. That's kind of part of my why and why I'm here. But it's nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too. I'll go next. I'm Jessica Ellison, and I've been teaching for 8 years now. And kind of the reason why I joined this program was I've always just kind of had a passion for technology in the classroom and just wanted to kind of take that extra step and broaden my horizons a little bit with what I could do. And I think this past year, with going completely remote learning and digital learning, was kind of like that final push to make me like, okay, well, I'm doing it already, so let's go ahead and take that next step and see what I can do. So that's kind of my reason that I'm here, and I'm loving every second of it. It's been really awesome. So yeah.
Love that. Thanks, Jess. My name is Hannah Anderson, and I have been teaching for the last 9 years, and this will be my 10th year. And I guess I've taught abroad, and I've taught in the United States in several different countries, and that's been quite a learning experience. And I've been really blessed to have reached such unique students, and it's really helped me become a better teacher. But I teach middle school language arts and history, and my why, I've had my eyeball on this program for the last 5 years or so. And then I noticed after I moved to Thailand that the program had partnered with a school in Thailand, a technology-based university. And then when I finally joined the program, I noticed they're not partnering with them anymore. So I'm still really thankful to be in this program. And I actually dragged John to join the program with me. So I love it. And it's been super fun and exciting to go on this journey. And I know we decided to do the fast track, and my eyes are opened and I am ready to keep learning. It's been quite a journey, but I think it's pushed me to new heights for sure. I feel like I had plateaued in my learning and my teaching as well. So this program has been amazing for me. And I am excited to see what our next classes are all about.
Very nice. Well, my name is Allison Keedy. I also go by Art Time Class to all my students, like my YouTube channel. And my why I'm doing this program and why I want to integrate technology is not just the recent trends of, with COVID and having to push us all into technology, whether we wanted to or not, but I believe that, we can grow from everything we do. And I really saw that push as an opportunity to just push myself forward and put my enjoyment of being a YouTuber and my love of teaching art together. So here I am searching for a digital technology type thing. So yay.
I'm Jessica Benitez. I did not know anything about this program when I joined. I love it though. It has challenged me the whole way. I've learned a lot about myself, the way I teach, and even the way I think. I've only taught second and third grade reading, and now I am training to become a dyslexia therapist. And I have learned that that is definitely my passion. So I'm excited to see, once I get my therapist license, how I can incorporate the digital aspect with that.
That's really great. Thanks for introducing yourselves, guys. I think it's been it's been fun to interact with everyone through Google Documents and through our Group Meets app and in other ways such as email and just through our actual lectures online. But it's totally different to actually see your face and to have this really cool technology conversation we have coming up here. So we have a few questions that we can get started on. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So one of the big things that I'm doing in my classroom is not just blended learning, but the process of creating portfolios and e-portfolios. As an art teacher, that is one of the things we have to go over is, making a sketchbook, adding to it, and then the process of creating a portfolio from the different works that we make. So my question to everyone is, how do portfolios help us gain more learning?
Well, I'll start. I had not really even heard of e-portfolios before starting this course, but I will say, for personal experience, it has been very helpful for me to have a place where I have what I've learned, things I've watched, things I've read, just kind of a reference point that I know is safe and I can always go back and access. I can name different things, use the hashtags, so I can go back and literally see my own personal growth. I can see where I started, my thoughts and ideas on a certain subject, and then how they've changed and progressed over time. I think with our young ones today, our students and younger kids, they're struggling a lot right now, especially digitally. And I think having a place where they can access what they've learned and see the progress that they've made. Maybe they don't think they've learned as much as they thought they have, but then a physical place where they can go and say, oh yeah, I remember when I did that, or when I learned that, or when we talked about this, and they can go back and make new connections and grow their background knowledge even more. Maybe there's something that they're not quite understanding, but they can include it in their e-portfolio and then go back and reference it and build their knowledge on that.
I love that. That like really helps them take ownership of their learning and track their progress.
Yes.
Someone else?
And I was going to say, oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Well, I had something to say, but then I started like staring at your cat in the background. So hold on. I need to gather my thoughts again. Jess, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
You should go. All right.
So I was going to say, like, kind of talking about how you said it's a place for them to go back and like look at their stuff. And that was like one of the biggest I feel like struggles I had with the last year of everything going digital is we use Google Classroom. And while it's an amazing tool and it's got so many good things about it, it would get kind of like bogged down, like, and kids couldn't go back and find stuff that they needed to find. And I feel like that's what's kind of cool about the whole e-portfolio thing is having a place that they can actually go back and see, oh yeah, I remember doing this, or I remember learning this, and a place for them to reflect on that kind of stuff. Because that was always, and even this year, something I've kind of struggled with too is like, okay, we got to go back and find this information, that's been pushed way down. We're posting something every single day. So yeah, I completely agree with how that's a really good place for them to go back and see the stuff that they've done.
All right. So yeah, Jess, when you were talking and you were mentioning like the students are struggling, it made me think of like portfolios are really I know that and Allison mentioned this word too, like our professors in this program, and they're this word is very popular to use, this word ownership, but another word that comes to mind is empowerment. Like I think for these kids to have their own portfolios, it's like these kids who are struggling, it's great for them to they have their own space, they have their own space in this vast world that's them. It's their space. And it's just like, I think it's very self-affirming for them. Like, I have this space that I'm in control of. It's a reflection of who I am, and it's out there for everyone. And I think like, especially, my students are high schoolers, so it really allows them a sense of empowerment, I think, too.
I really like what you said. I totally agree. And I have personally younger children, and then the students I teach are obsessed with YouTubers, and they want to be having their own YouTube show. So especially with dyslexia kiddos, allowing them a platform where they can create videos, not necessarily opening toys or showing video game tutorials, but using that space for their own independent learning showcase. Just kind of, it doesn't necessarily, maybe it's hard for me to gather my thoughts. Maybe they struggle with pen and paper, getting something down on pen and paper because of their disability. They can go in though and go and make a video and share their learning this way. We talked about this, we did that, I think this. And I think giving them the option to differentiate how they share their learning does create empowerment. So.
Cool.
Definitely
I really like that. Thinking about empowerment, and especially everything we've been through the pandemic these last 2 years, I think it's really important that the students do have a safe space where they can share some of their actual thoughts and take ownership over that, for sure. I wanted to ask you guys a little spin-off question, I suppose, to kind of challenge what we've been discussing. I wanted to ask about authenticity and how your students are actually utilizing these e-portfolios. And I know that in my school, at least in elementary school, when they're younger, they love the e-portfolios. They enjoy typing up things that they've been learning and sharing these photos. And then by the time they get to middle school, they don't want to utilize them as much. They feel like they aren't connecting with their learning. It feels like it's pulling teeth out to try to get them to share some of those ideas. And we do get them to reflect in other ways, but it's not through the e-portfolio. And then by the time they get to high school, it's a totally long and forgotten item. So I wanted to ask you guys, how do they look in your school, and what do your students actually think about e-portfolios? Do they find them as useful as teachers may?
Well, at my campus, we have not just like a Google Doc or a Google Drive where everything's housed. We also use Class Dojo, and I'll take pictures of student work. And I think that's where it starts, is in kindergarten. I'll take pictures of their work and send it to their parents, and then they can be discussed during parent-teacher conferences what they're able to do, and teachers can use those as like different references. And then from there, I have to teach the skill of like going back and reflecting and how to save these and put it on there. And I have the unique opportunity to get to work with them for 5 years. So I get to go back and continuously work on that skill in the hopes of them continuing it once they're in middle school. And actually had the opportunity to bump into one of the parents whose both of her children are now in middle school. And she was talking to me about like, oh my gosh, my kids still like, they love this project that you did. And I shared her my business card. I was like, oh, well, that project's now in a video form. You can go on YouTube and check out that, and they can do it again if they want in their free time. And mom was like, oh, thank goodness, because they need something to do in the summer. So I'm just hoping that that mindset is instilled in them so that they'll take it from there, because it's really, I can't control them outside the classroom. And I just hope that they're able to keep those skills and utilize it wherever they go, whether it's with art or with another subject or just, life and social media. They're taking pictures and posting to Instagram. Hopefully they learned a little photography skills from me, and they can edit a little something on their photos and take ownership and take it.
Do we want to go ahead and go to our next question?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so I know we have been using portfolios, and we've kind of discussed, a little bit about how they help us, but what is something that you enjoy about your personal professional e-portfolio?
Sure, I can start this one off here. So I feel like personally as a teacher, it's been quite enlightening. And I know we've touched on this already. I think that was you, Jessica, just how reflective we can be, and we can go back and read through our thoughts on day one of this program and really see how we've grown and how we've changed our own personal thoughts. And sometimes we feel like we don't change even over the course of a couple of months, but then we go back, we're like, wait a minute, I know so much more than I did back in the spring or even before a certain particular class began. And that's just because we have been having such great conversations. We've been watching TED Talks, we've been reading books, we've been analyzing articles, we've been discussing and digesting everything that has been thrown our way. And we sometimes don't realize what's happening right before our own eyes. So it has been really fun for me to go back into my own personal e-portfolio. I hadn't had one for myself since university. So it's been fun as a grown adult person to start that again and to see the real benefits in that.
I agree with what you said, and I love to go back and view it. And I also look at it as something for the future. Once I get my therapist certification and have some years under my belt with the district, I would like to go out and work independently. And that's a pretty competitive market. So I think having some sort of platform where I can say, this is what I've learned, this is how I implement it, here's some success stories, here is the program that we use, that I can share with parents. And, it's ultimately a place where they can go and view me and make a decision for their child. So I feel very grateful to have taken the time to learn how to use it and to have it.
Very nice. Can I jump on this? So I'd love to share just a little bit of what my portfolio looks like. And I like to use the Google Sites. So here you have like an example of student work. So I can, when I go back and reteach symmetry lessons, I can pull up these and really jog the students' memories and give them some like, oh, I want to try that. I want to see what I can do. I love doing a big digital unit for digital art. And now that we have technology one-to-one at my campus, it's like so fun and easy. Kids are all like focused on what they're doing and they create and they love seeing what other students have done. And then I can also share with my peers, like when I go to the art teachers conference, I'll share them the website and show them, hey, there's some resources on here that you can use. Feel free to use it however you want. So just lots of really great tools to share. And I think it just really extends learning so much more when they can see my own examples of what it could look like.
That was fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, super, super cool, Allison. I was just gonna ask you, and maybe Jessica, you probably need one of these too, but Allison, do you have your website on your business card that you're handing out to these parents?
It's on there. It's got like the channeling, well, the search words.
Can you show us? Do you have one like laying around? Could you?
I
want to see your business card.
It looks a little bit like my phone case. My students are always like, "You have merchandise?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'll hold up my water bottle with like the sticker on it and stuff, and they just they think it's so cool. I'm like that much more professional.
That's
Jessica,
really
you got to get your business card game going.
Yes, I do.
Okay, and my question, which we've kind of touched on already, but if we want to just like maybe give a statement of why we think it's important to maybe keep an e-portfolio.
I think as teachers, we can kind of spiral into other domains and other aspects of our own lives. So I think kind of like what Jessica mentioned, she's doing this now and she wants to transition into this. So how can we utilize our portfolio in a variety of different ways and really watch ourselves as we are growing? And even if we decide to go into becoming admin, or if we want to go into consulting, we're able to utilize our portfolio still and make those connections and make a deeper learning. And as Allison is doing, make it real, make it accessible to our students and the parents in our community and our schools and our businesses and beyond. And that's really cool.
Yes. And my personal children always ask me, well, why do I have to do this? I don't see you doing it. So I think us, and that was also Dr. H had mentioned that in order for you to make any type of innovation or change, you need to do it first. So students, being able to view our e-portfolio, being able to share different aspects of it, I think we'll see, help students, see the light. Oh, okay. So this is kind of what it looks like. I know when I started mine, I was completely clueless. I watched a lot of YouTube. I searched on a lot of my peers' websites and their e-portfolios, and it really helped me kind of figure out, okay, I like this, I don't like that. So setting an example for students, I think, is really important.
Nice. I have another question that I think you guys would enjoy. So do your students receive, how do they receive that growth mindset?
Excuse me. In my class, all of my students have a significant reading disability. So, and they're aware, they know that they're struggling. So they usually come in with pretty low self-esteem, and I can't do it, I can't read, I'm not good. That's kind of their attitude. So I start day one, you might not be able to do it yet, but you will. It's gonna be hard. But just because reading is hard for you, let's talk about something that you are an expert in, something that you know how to do, something that does come easy for you. And I think it's important to share that, things are hard for me, but that doesn't mean I avoid it. It means the more I work on it, the little bit easier that it will get. So I think having those continuous conversations, talking about how you talk to yourself, is really key. And I've noticed that sometimes when, a student has difficulty, instead of maybe their first instinct would be like, oh, you're so, dumb. Don't you know that word? It's cat. They will say like, that's a tricky one and you got it, which is what I say. So I try to avoid like it's hard or, it's difficult. I just say it's tricky because we know it's all hard, but the more you apply yourself, the less hard it will be.
I love that. The power of yet, and then really focusing on their strengths and struggles, because we all have different strengths and struggles. You don't have to be good at everything, and you're not going to be good at everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I fell in love with Dweck's book and all of the ideas there, and just like you, Jessica, from day one, I try to inspire the students with those ideas, and I really wonder if I'm getting through to them sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to know with teenagers, like, am I getting through to any of these kids or not? But I actually just had something that I kind of want to, I guess I want to confess to you guys, maybe. Like, I don't know. I've been thinking about it this weekend, but just last week, like one of my students joined the call, and their virtual background was a screenshot of me, and they had added a text bubble in to my, like, next to my face saying, "Have a growth mindset." And it wasn't like the greatest picture of me though. Like, I kind of looked a little doofy. And I'm just wondering, like, should I be offended, or like, what do you guys think of that? Should I stop talking about the growth mindset? What happened?
You reached someone. That's what happened. Maybe the student didn't express it in the greatest way, but clearly you got him thinking about growth mindset, and he knows that's something that you're teaching and you believe in. And so, he's thinking about it.
Yes. You've reached outside the classroom. He's thinking about you even further and farther.
You have a much more positive spin on this. I was like, I'm about ready to give this kid detention. How dare you? How dare you?
Did he draw you with horns, or did he add like that, negative stuff on there?
No horns, but I mean, he chose like the doofiest screenshot he could have possibly chosen of me.
That's because he knows
it didn't happen.
Oh, sorry. He knows that you have a growth mindset, and you could take that and apply the picture and, grow.
I think it's a double-edged sword. I mean, I'm a middle school teacher, so I know that he probably did it with the intent to be funny, to show off, to make his friends laugh. But deep down, that's a great thing, because your classroom knows what you're all about, and your students know that you do want to focus on that growth mindset. And so maybe not in that moment, it was such a great thing, but later down the road, he will realize, like, that was a really great teacher, and I know exactly why. I have this growth mindset, and I know what that means, and I know how I can apply it 2, 5, 20 years down the road.
Thank you. You guys can email me your Venmos, and I'll send you my therapy money.
Love it. That's really cool. I love, how we're really incorporating all of these ideas that we've been learning in class so far. We've been talking about our e-portfolios, our professional ones, and our student e-portfolios. We've touched on growth mindset, and what about blended learning? How has blended learning either changed your personal environment or potentially your school or your classroom environment?
So I can I can definitely jump on that. So blended learning, we were really pushed into it. Um, and there was so much resistance at first, which like I felt like such a huge opportunity for me. But I already have like a technology finger, so I loved integrating technology, and I've always wanted to do a big digital art unit. And then I finally got to do a digital art unit and teaching like animation and like photo editing and all those things. Like it always felt like such a huge challenge just to get the tools to get to do that with my students. And now I had those tools and I got to do that with, and so many students nowadays are all about like, how can I make my picture look better? Or how can I make this little thing bounce up and down on the screen? So I had students jumping for joy to do art, and I get to use the iPad to do this. And I really, really loved it. And now that I feel like we kind of took a little step back, but I'm not going all the way back. I'm taking what I gained in that full technology time and I'm blending it together. So in my classroom, I've got a video playing and introducing the lesson. I used to spend 10 or 15 minutes talking about like the vocabulary and what it's going to be. Now I just spend 1 minute reading a sentence. We say the vocabulary words together, and then the video takes it from there. I get to walk around the room and really watch students, making sure they're focused. I get to set out materials so that when we do pause the video, I can go, all right, this table, you guys pass these out. This table, your job is to do this. And everyone has a job now that I can get all that ready, since I see like 700 students once every 6 days. So every single day I have to go back over what are the expectations, what is what that I need you to do. And it just gives me so much more freedom to pull a small group, to do one-on-one with a student that's struggling. And then everyone else can either continue with the video or they can work at their own pace because they've already like, all right, I know what I'm doing. I want to just do my own thing. And I love that. In art, I have this awesome opportunity to let students really discover their way to their success, since there's so many ways to draw this picture. There's more than one way to draw this line. And you don't even have to do it that way. You can make it wiggly or go geometric with it. It is totally up to you. And it gives students the power to do what they want when they're ready to do it. So I really love blended learning. I can't wait to continue going, like kind of this tango of going back to forth, like technology, in person, back and forth. I love this little dance that we get to do with blended learning.
That's fantastic. That really sounded like complete ownership of their learning. That's great.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounds like my dream of what I want my classroom to really look like eventually. So it was really reassuring to hear that, you're doing it as successful and that kind of stuff. And you mentioned how there was you said your school is kind of pushed for this and there was a lot of resistance. So how do you feel like y'all kind of combated that resistance to get more people on board?
It was slow at first. There were, professional development, and then there should have been a full week of just technology professional development, because we have teachers at all levels. There are some teachers that they hate technology, and you can really tell, because when you walk into that classroom, I had to push into the classrooms last year. When I walk in, the students didn't know how to take a picture and upload it to their Google Drive, versus the very next kindergarten classroom over, all those 5-year-olds can take a picture and upload it into Google Drive. So right then and there, I could pinpoint which classrooms needed that extra lesson just to learn how to upload stuff. And like it was getting the kids on board to then show their teacher how to do it, I think was the secret trick. I would have a few technology experts in each classroom, and there's just more and more every single year of these technology experts, the computer guru of the room, and they'll show the teacher, oh, you just do this and then you can do that. And I had this one, she's a 6-year-old now, this one 6-year-old in this classroom who the teacher was just, she hated everything to do with technology. She wanted a traditional kindergarten classroom. And this 6-year-old, well, she was 5 at the time, she was showing that teacher. I walked in one day, this is how you do that. And I'm like, I was just like, it's working. It's working. She's teaching her how to do it. And that's something I think is super important in my classroom. Like, you can't draw on your friend's paper, but you can teach them how to draw it on their paper, because then you're learning to teach, which is hard. And then they're learning how to do the drawing. So that like both brings them up. You can't enable them. You have to show them. So that's my trick of what I've been working with to get teachers on board.
I love that. That was
Awesome.
really, really inspiring. And yeah, to see those young ones teaching adults is awe-inspiring for sure. It's those little heart flutter moments we get as teachers. Super fun.
Yeah, and I work, my district is a very big Hispanic community. So kids often have to translate for their parents a lot. And I think even more so, like, technology is a whole nother language to translate. So that skill is just, it's so important.
Sure. And even getting parents on board too. How can they transition into the idea of their students, their children going through school differently than they went through school can definitely be tough too. I know in my district, some of the community members were a little hesitant for us to test out Zoom pre-COVID, and then everyone was extremely thankful and grateful that we did test it. We had half days at home. Our students went home after lunch, and we said, we're getting on Zoom and we're going to do our last 2 classes of the day online, and we're going to practice this. And everyone was extremely grateful at that foresight that our school had. So parents were questioning and wondering, why is my kid going home? And now it makes total sense. So we were thankful for that. And for the teachers who were hesitant, we started incorporating some teachers teaching teachers 15-20-minute segments into some of our PD sessions. And so that was really great. We all had a chance to showcase some technology or websites or applications that we were using in our classroom. And we would go into their Zoom rooms if we picked that teachers teaching teachers mini unit, and we just got to learn about technology and see how other teachers are applying these ideas into their classrooms. Kind of like our last assignment, actually. I loved getting to see what you guys are researching and how I can apply some of those ideas to my classroom, or I could ask you guys ideas since you're the expert on those topics. So it's really refreshing to see what other teachers are doing too.
Awesome.
Yeah, about what we're all doing. Do we all want to say a little something about our innovation plan?
Sure. Oh, okay, I'll go. So my innovation plan had greatly evolved from day one. I just had to name it because it's just easier for me that way. So I call it the Dyslexia Showcase. And it started with the teacher housing the digital aspect of it. And I think it was hard for me to let go of the process. It was hard for me to give it to the students. But now the students will be in charge of their own e-portfolios instead of the teacher just housing a video website. So the students will have their own e-portfolio where they discuss their learning, where they record themselves, using some of the strategies that they learned in therapy. And I think it's also important that they research an individual who has dyslexia and is in the famous spotlight, and see how they've overcome their disability and how they've used that to create something. Usually children with dyslexia have they think differently. So they're more creative, they're more abstract. And how did they use that ability to grow and to develop something new? So
That's me.
so that the e-portfolio is not only a reflection of themselves, it's maybe an aspiration of what they want for the future. So that is my innovation plan in a nutshell.
Nice. I'll jump on that. So my plan is to grow students' reflective mindset. And I want to do that by empowering them to utilize e-portfolios so that they'll be able to go back and check on what they do and use those connections that they make to help jumpstart that learning and push it even farther.
I love that, because I know so many kids will be like, well, I can't draw. I can't do this. I can't do that. So I think using that tool will definitely allow them to see, maybe you couldn't here, but look at how much better you've gotten over time. I think that's great.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. I'll go next. Mine's more focused on blended learning. And so I just identified in my classroom, like, especially in the past year with so much technology being introduced, like kind of student engagement dropping a little bit. And so I'm trying to use blended learning as a focus to maybe bring that up and also give me a chance for some more individualized learning. So like Allison, like you were talking earlier about, you put up your video, you give some time for them to watch instruction, you're able to go around and visit your students and pull small groups. And so that's kind of the idea in a nutshell of mine, is with blended learning, I'm able to, get to some groups who may need a little more extra or a little more attention. And then my groups who are, they get it right off the bat as soon as I say it, like giving them something that they can, further their learning and not just sitting there bored and, like I already know all this and they're going to make 100 anyway. So let's give them something a little more challenging. So I'm kind of using the rotation model in that way and trying to give an opportunity for students to have their own personalized learning, and also increasing some engagement through giving them an option to take ownership and get a little bit of choice in there as well. Like we talked about the COVA model. And so using that to kind of inspire how my blended learning will work in my classroom.
That's really cool, Jess. My innovation plan is also about blended learning. So I'll just step up here next. My innovation plan shifted slightly into more of a seeking of deeper community and curiosity, not only in my classroom, but also in the real world and in the business realm, and thinking about where I can take that idea and how I can structure it in different ways. So sometimes in middle school classrooms, either the students really know each other super well and they all annoy each other like brothers and sisters. So you do have to deepen that community and maybe strengthen some of the connections that they have with each other. Or it's a huge school and no one knows anybody, or they're going from elementary school up to middle school and so they don't know anybody. So it is all about how can I help guide these students to be safe, to feel safe enough to ask big questions and be curious learners. So how can I implement blended learning and allow them to really make authenticity connections to their learning and to different classes as well? And then how can I connect those ideas into my business? I started a business out in Thailand, and I have a few little personal projects that I've been working on as well. And I want to try to incorporate blended learning ideas into the real world. School is our little bubble and we can kind of mold that into what we need, but how can I also make those connections and what we've learned through the pandemic, through technology utilization, into a business mindset too?
Awesome. Thanks everyone for sharing. Yeah, so just like Jess and Hannah, my innovation plan has really turned its head fully towards blended learning too, especially in the last few months. But it all started really, like I'm sure any teacher does, like I just want my kids to learn. I want them to be able to learn and not be miserable about it, right? So that's like what Jess, you're talking about with engagement, I think is really important. And like one of the things I always think about that I learned in this class was like the 3 keys to happiness, to like professional happiness, are mastery, autonomy, and purpose. And like especially using blended learning to foster mastery, to foster competency in what they're supposed to know, right? So as grade 9 literature students, you're supposed to know, pretty difficult things, really. You're supposed to know like what these deeper themes of Romeo and Juliet are, for example, or whatever they might be. And I think blended learning allows students easier access to that mastery. And I think what I'm trying to do is just find out any way I can to make sure these kids are all mastering, they're all competent in what they should be, right? Because then if they are, they're happy, they're engaged, right? If you have mastery, autonomy, and purpose, then you're good to go, right? I really took that to heart, and I think that it's true for students as well. So like I'll try flip seminars in my classroom. One thing I just started doing like a few weeks ago was like getting discussions going through like asynchronous posts. So starting a discussion, or basically using channels on a website or a blog, and letting students kind of post in their own time, and then being able to go in there and provide instant feedback. And it seems like, it's really been going well. And I think, of any year I've been teaching, I don't know if it's just my students are really brilliant, but I feel like the work that I'm getting out of my students this year is the best that I've ever gotten. It's the best I've ever got. Like just the literary analysis that's taking place, the discussions I see going on are just they're examples of mastery, and that is what I think blended learning can do. So that's about it, I guess. Yeah.
I love that. You're really getting to meet the students when they're ready and letting them participate on their time. I think that's so important. With the way the world is, like some people are morning people, some people are night owls, and that's the same with our students. Some do better at different times of day, and that asynchronism really, I think, is a great tool you're using there. I love that.
Yeah, those success stories are really inspiring. And when you can see the changes going on, it's telling you that you're doing the right thing and that you're working in the right direction. So I think we're wrapping up here in the next few minutes or so, but do you guys have any success stories that you might like to share, or any thoughts on the future of technology and education?
Well, I would say technology and education is not going anywhere for sure. I think we're only going to push more towards, it being in the classroom. And I've said this, over the past few months, especially with the school year starting, like my biggest fear was we take all these huge steps because we had to when we went, fully digital and all that stuff. And, I'm worried of reverting back. And I can say I've already seen that happening on my campus, because we have Chromebooks for each kid, and they'll come into my room and we still use them every day. Like that's how they get the lessons from me and all that kind of stuff. And we'll do some stuff on paper, but most everything's digital. And, they'll come to my room and their Chromebook's dead, and it's like 5th period. And I'm like, did you not charge it? I'm like, well, I haven't had to use it all day, or they forgot it at home. I'm like, well, what have you been doing all day? And they're like, well, I didn't need to use it today. And so I'm kind of starting to see evidence of like, they're not really using it as much in their other classes. And so I'm kind of like, my fear is kind of coming true. I don't really want to revert back, and so I feel like that's something that we have to keep in mind as we're moving forward. Like we learned a lot of great things last year, and I know there's a lot of things that weren't so great, and we kind of want to go back to what's familiar to us. But I hope, like, as teachers, we are trying to take those strides and keep moving forward with it, because like I said, technology is not going to go anywhere, and I feel like it's getting better and better and better, and it's really a tool that we can use if it's used properly. It's not just showing a YouTube video at the beginning of the lesson or whatever. It's how can we use this stuff to further their learning and not just keep them busy or let them play games or things like that. So that's kind of how I feel about where it's going, or where it's been, and kind of where it's going.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jess. And I think even to add on to that, like I was actually just talking about this today. I think in Thailand, where if you're looking for a quality international education, you have to pay a lot of money. You have to pay a lot of money, and I don't think you should. I don't think you should need to, right? I mean, you can have a fully online school, and like you were saying, Jess, like you can get the results with blended learning, and you don't need the multi-million-dollar campus. You don't need the glitz and the glamour. But if what you're really concerned for is the outcomes for your child and what they're learning, it's totally possible to do it fully online or blended in some way. And I was just talking with a buddy today, like there is a market for that here. There is not a single fully online, like internationally accredited school here in the country of Thailand. And that is just a massive like gap waiting to be filled here for whoever is the savvy investor and can really pull it off. I think there's a revolution waiting to happen basically in education, because there's so many people just talking to friends with kids and stuff who they want to get a good education for their kids, but they can't afford the $20,000 a year or $30,000 a year to send their kid to one of these top tier international schools. If you just did it online and you did it for 25% of that price, I think you would have people lining up out the door for it. And I just think that not only is it not going anywhere, I think it's a massive, massive area for growth in the next decade.
Can I jump on that? I agree here, even in the United States. I don't understand why there's not an online accessible free resource for students. And you can, do each course. You could make an online course and it'd be absolutely free. Like we have our public education system. If a parent wants to keep their child at home and facilitate the learning, why is there not a absolutely free resource that you could go into and kid logs in, get started? They've got other resources. If they want to print them out, they can. If they want to do it all digital, that they can. That's got to be it's got to be there in the future. And then even further, I like to dream big. VR classrooms in the next 30 years. You put on a virtual headset and you've got your virtual classroom. I think that's going to be something it's going to be reality in the next 30, 50 years. By the time I'm done being a teacher, I'm ready to retire. I would love to have a virtual art room where students, they just and they can draw virtually, and I think it's going to happen eventually.
In virtual Tahiti.
Yeah, you can. Oh, look at me! I look very young and gorgeous in my virtual classroom. I can jump and do all sorts of things. It's the technology's coming. It is.
Yeah. My district is actually in the process of creating a virtual school. Yes. They had set one up and then funding through the state fell through, but apparently a House bill was signed. I don't know all the politics of it, but they are creating a virtual campus. It's called Icon, and I think it's pre-K through 12. And it's completely virtual. Students would stay home. They would have a district device, and they would do everything virtually. As far as the details of what that looks like, I don't know, but I do agree that blended learning and virtual learning it's the future. I know if I wasn't in education and I had my children, I would want them doing something more virtual instead of a brick and mortar campus. I think the opportunity is limitless that way.
I think we as teachers, we tend to focus on the positive and see the bright side, and we know that change is coming. We can feel it. I think we do have a few things holding us back, though, as well, from fully stretching our wings and building the planes as we fly them. I know, families and communities are hesitant toward big change because it's scary, it's unknown, it's something that they've never seen before, it's not what they went through themselves. And I think through the pandemic as well, lots of families are worried about the mental health of their students. And if it is fully virtual, how can we as teachers facilitate really deep connections and create great friendships and make that really relevant for them still, is something that I think we need to focus on the future, making sure that if we do go fully online, which I am fully supporting, I think that it's full of great potential in the future, and that is something that I look forward to. But how can we make sure that our students are still able to have an interactive experience instead of just working by themselves? I think a parent just imagines one small child in the corner of a dark room on a small laptop typing away by themselves, but that's not the type of environment that we're going to create when we do go more digital, and that's exciting. I'm very curious to see how Icon turns out, Jessica, or John, if someone in Thailand decides to make their own fully digital school. Sign me up. Yeah. Sign my kids up in the future.
Let's make a Minecraft classroom.
There we go. I love it.
Well, thank you all for joining. I think we had a wonderful discussion. Anything else, anyone?
I just think it's been a really good experience, and actually getting to see all your faces and talk to you for a little while. So I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Hannah, I miss your face. Come back to Bangkok.
Let me get a flight. I'll be right there. Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate your morning, and John, your evening. Have a great day, and week coming up. Looking forward to lots of good stuff.
Great job, everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.